students, welcome to PhD Jobs and Admission. This is Gauri. So in this video I'm going to teach you about Pondicherry University PhD Entrance Test 2023 Research Methodology subject, and in today's session we are going to see different steps of research by using MCQs. Steps of research means the whole research process and the steps that we take under whenever we do the research. Okay, so there are different steps of research according to the different research methods and research types. So I have covered all of these concepts in this video because on these topics you will be asking most of the MCQs in PhD entrance test. So students, all of you need to watch this video until the end so that all of your concepts will get clear. So students, let us begin with this session. Now all of you know that Pondicherry University has PhD entrance test for all the candidates. And in this PhD entrance test, there will be two papers. Paper 1 will be for research methodology and paper 2 will be for concerned subject. And all the candidates need to score more marks in both the papers so that they can qualify the PhD entrance test. So there is 50% marks requirement to qualify the PhD entrance test. And there is also negative marking of -1 for each wrong answer. And that's why students, to secure more marks in paper 1 and paper 2, we provide research methodology complete course for paper 1 and study material for paper 2. So in this complete course we provide you full syllabus video lectures under which theory and MCQs both lectures are available. We provide full syllabus notes and mock tests. We have 10 mock tests and each mock test contains 40 MCQs, and that's why all the students can solve 400 MCQs in mock tests only. We provide more than 1500 MCQs revision PDF. So in each revision PDF, all the candidates can revise all the topics in a single PDF, and that's why all the candidates will get 80% MCQs from this PDF only out of 100% MCQs in the research methodology paper of PhD entrance test. So all of these study materials are available in both the languages, and those are Hindi and English. So students, if you want to buy this complete course, then candidates can either download the Global Online app from the Play Store. For that I have given the link in the description box of this video, or else they can contact me through the WhatsApp numbers. Those I have mentioned on this screen. The course fees are only 699, and in these low fees we provide guaranteed selection to all the candidates. Okay. So students, this research methodology complete course is nothing but a research methodology revision package which is really helpful to all the candidates to guaranteed qualify PhD entrance test. We have demo mock tests and demo video lectures, and those students can grab that too free of cost, and after that they can buy the complete course.
Question 1 is, what is the name of the conceptual framework in which the research is carried out? Okay. So what is the name of that conceptual framework? Through that conceptual framework, basically the research is carried out. So whether it is research hypothesis, or it is a synopsis of research, or it is research paradigm, or it is research design. So basically conceptual framework means the whole outline of the whole research process, which is nothing but the research design, and that's why your correct answer should be 4, because research design is the whole outline of your whole research process, in which you basically explain what are different research data collection methods and data analysis methods you are going to employ in your whole research process. Okay, and that's why your correct answer should be 4. Now the research hypothesis means the prediction of the solution of your research. Synopsis of research means the summary of your whole research in minimum words, so you can call it as abstract as well. Okay. Then research paradigm means research approach, and research approach is nothing but the research method itself. Okay. Next is, which one among the following statement is true in the context of the testing of hypothesis? Okay. So among these options, which is the statement which is true in relevant or in regard towards the testing of hypothesis? So it is only the alternative hypothesis that can be tested. So whenever we test the hypothesis, then at that time we only test the alternative hypothesis. It is only the null hypothesis that can be tested. So whenever we test the hypothesis, then there is only the null hypothesis that we test. both the alternative and the null hypothesis can be tested, both the alternative and the null hypothesis cannot be tested. So basically students, this thing is really most important. Whenever you test the hypothesis, then in that section basically you only test the null hypothesis, okay, because the meaning of null hypothesis is that we basically state that there is no relationship between the variables under study, and that's why we test only the null hypothesis. And whenever we get the results, and whenever we get the results like we should accept the null hypothesis, then in that situation we accept it, and whenever we reject the null hypothesis, then in that situation we automatically accept the alternative hypothesis, okay. And that's why your correct answer should be 2, that is, it is only the null hypothesis that can be tested, okay.
Students, apart from that, we provide you Pondicherry University PhD Entrance Test 2023 paper to study material. So this study material is really helpful to the candidates so that they can score more marks in concerned subject. So in this study material, we provide full syllabus notes and MCQs. So in the MCQ section, we provide most expected MCQs and PYQs. So by the use of most expected MCQs and PYQs, all the candidates can guaranteed score more marks in paper 2 and they can qualify the PU PhD entrance test. So the subjects that I have mentioned on this screen, so on all of these subjects we provide paper to study material. So students, if you want study material for any other subject, then they can contact me through the WhatsApp numbers which are provided on this screen, or they can either comment me. Okay, the fees for paper to study material are only 999, and in these low fees we provide guaranteed selection to all the candidates. To join paper 1 and paper 2 courses, candidates can contact me through the WhatsApp numbers which are I have shown on the screen.
Next is, in using the hypothetical deductive research paradigm, which of the following sequences is considered appropriate, okay. So whenever you are using hypothetical deductive research approach, then for that using the approach you need to go through simple steps, okay. Those are the research steps. So what are the sequences of these research steps? So first is hypothesis making, hypothesis testing, arriving at generalization and conclusion, establishing a research problem, hypothesis making, hypothesis testing, arriving at generalization and conclusion, hypothesis making, establishing a research problem, then hypothesis testing, then arriving at generalization and conclusion. Hypothesis testing, hypothesis making, finalizing the problem, arriving at generalization and conclusion, okay. So your correct answer should be 2, because whenever you do any kind of a research, then your first step should be to establish a research problem, okay. And that's why basically you need to identify first of all the research problem, then establish a research problem, then after that formulate a hypothesis, then test hypothesis, then arrive at generalization, and last session will be of conclusion, okay. So basically what the meaning of hypothetical deductive research paradigm? So basically in this research paradigm you can see these two words, and those are hypothetical and deductive. So hypothetical means basically you are going to formulate the hypothesis, and deductive means you are going to test the hypothesis. So this is the meaning of these two sentence words, okay. And that's why in this basic research paradigm you need to first of all formulate the hypothesis, which is the mandatory thing, and the second thing is that deductive means basically you are going to test the hypothesis. That's why your correct answer should be 2, that is this one, okay. A college or university teacher plans to test his or her substantive research hypothesis in a major project. Which of the following statements are considered relevant in this regard, okay. So college or university teacher, okay, is planning to test his or her substantive research hypothesis, okay. So basically here he wants to test substantive research hypothesis, and research hypothesis means alternative hypothesis. So in this hypothesis we state that, or we predict that there is relationship between the variables, okay. So with regard to this hypothesis testing part, okay, which of these following statements are correct? Substantive research hypothesis has to clearly specify the relationship among variables, okay. So basically whenever we formulate the substantive research hypothesis, then that research hypothesis should clearly specify the relationship among the variables those are under study, and this statement is correct because whenever we know the exactly relationship among the variables, then obviously our research hypothesis will be more clear and it will help us to specifically test it, okay. Second is research hypothesis may be directed at finding out differential effects or relationships, okay. Research hypothesis may be directed at finding out differential effects or relationships, okay. Again this statement is correct because research hypothesis should be directed at finding out differential effects or relationships, because this is basically the outcome of our research process and that we want basically, and this is the goal of our whole research. Null hypothesis should be formulated beforehand. So here we are going to test the research hypothesis, and that's why beforehand we don't need to formulate a null hypothesis. So this statement is incorrect. There is direct support available for testing the substantive research hypothesis. No, basically this thing does not happen in the research process, because whenever there is direct support available for testing the substantive research hypothesis, then this thing comes under unethical research process, and that's why this statement is again incorrect. The final decision of the on the research hypothesis may be reached indirectly by deciding the fate of the null hypothesis. Yes, this statement is correct because whenever you reject the null hypothesis, then obviously automatically you accept the research hypothesis, okay. And whenever you accept the null hypothesis, then you reject the research hypothesis, and that's why indirectly your decision will be based upon the fate of the null hypothesis itself. That's why your correct answer should be 4, that is A, B and E only, because here only these statements are correct. Next is research problem is feasible only when. So in which situations research problem is feasible? So when it is researchable, when it is new and adds something to knowledge, or when it has utility and relevance, and all of these. So basically students, research problem is feasible only when it is researchable. Whenever it is researchable, then obviously it will be feasible. When it new and whenever it adds something to knowledge, then obviously it will be feasible. And as well, whenever it has utility and relevance, relevance means whenever it has relevance to the problems in the society, then obviously it will be feasible. And that's why in all of these situations research problem is feasible, and that's why your correct answer should be 4, that is all of these, okay. From the list given below, identify those which are called non-probability sampling procedures. Okay, so here we have given a different sampling procedures, and we need to identify which are the non-probability sampling procedures among these procedures. So basically there are two types of sampling procedures, and those are probability and non-probability sampling procedures. And probability sampling procedures means there we basically randomly assign the participants and randomly select the participants. But in the non-probability sampling procedures, we do not randomly select the participants. So here we do not randomly select the participants, okay. So let us see here different sampling procedures: simple random sampling, dimensional sampling, snowball sampling, cluster sampling, quota sampling, stratified sampling. So from these sampling procedures, dimensional sampling, snowball sampling and quota sampling are the non-probability sampling procedures, okay. Because within the dimensional sampling, this is the extension of quota sampling, and here participant are get selected because they have the those particular characteristics. And here researcher think about many characteristics such as gender, then age, etc. And here basically researcher select the participants based upon the different characteristics, and each participant should have those defined characteristics, and those are called as dimensional sampling, because here the characteristics are many but the participant is one. Okay, and that's why this is the extension of quota sampling. In the snowball sampling, a researcher inspires the participants which are already under study, okay, to ask the other participants, okay, to get into the study. So basically here a researcher ask the participants under study to invite their colleagues or their familiar people to get participated in the study. So this is called as the snowball sampling. And within the quota sampling, basically a researcher wants the specific people who has specific characteristics, and that's why those of these three are the non-probability sampling procedures. But here simple random sampling, then cluster sampling and stratified sampling, these are the probability sampling procedures, and that's why your correct answer should be 4, that is 2, 3 and 5. Okay, next is research design that needs to collect factual information on a continuing basis is classified as. Okay, so from these options, which is the research design that needs to collect factual information on a continuing basis? So whether it is longitudinal study design or pre and post study design, cross-sectional study design or double control study design. So within this, the longitudinal study design is the study design that needs to collect factual information on a continuing basis, and that's why it should be your correct answer. Because in the longitudinal study design, okay, basically participants are to be called for a particular time interval, and that time interval is for a longer period of time or shorter period of time. It depends upon the study criteria, and on a interval basis participants give the real information at that period of time to the researcher on a continuing basis. Okay, and that's why the correct answer to this question is longitudinal study design. In the pre and post study design, so basically over here before and after treatments the measurements are to be taken. Okay, and that's why it is called as the pre and post study design. Cross sectional study design is the study design in which a researcher takes the information from lots of participants at a one period of time. Okay, and in the double control study design, here there are two control groups and one experimental groups. Okay, and that's why it is called as the double control study design, and the correct answer is 1, that is longitudinal study design. A researcher intends to find out the differences in the motivational outcome or outlook of first degree level students in terms of their belongingness to rural or urban areas and the educational status of parents. What will be the dependent variable in this study? Okay, so here researcher intends to find out the differences in the motivational outlook of first degree level students based on their belongingness to either rural or urban areas and based on the educational status of their parents. So here basically a researcher wants to study the motivational outlook of first degree level students, and that's why here motivational outlook should be the dependent variable, because the variable which is under study or the effect variable over here is motivational outlook, and the independent variables are belongingness to rural or urban areas and educational status of their parents. Okay, and that's why here your correct answer should be 4, that is motivational outcome or motivational outlook, because dependent variable is the effect variable and it is basically depend upon the independent variables. So whenever we change the values of the independent variables, then automatically the values of the dependent variable will be changed. Okay, That's why your correct answer should be 4, that is motivational outlook. Next is the objective of exploring the existing literature should be to identify which of the following issues. Okay, so what is the objective of literature basically? Why we do the review of literature? So what is already known about this area? Then what concepts and theories are relevant to this area? How to get funding for the research? What are the significant controversies in this area? Then are there any inconsistencies in the findings of this area? So basically to reviewing the existing literature means we find out the theory, or we find out the articles which are there published by other authors or other researchers before me or before us. Okay, and these literatures help us to understand the study, okay, whatever we are studying right now. And that's why we should know what is already known about this area, and that's why we review the existing literature as well. What concepts and theories are relevant to this area, we need to know that. So again this is again the objective of this. Then what are the significant controversies in this area, we should know that. So for that again we do the review of existing literature, and again we need to know whether there are any inconsistencies, means whether there are any gaps in the findings of this area or not, and that's why we do the review of existing literature. And that's why your correct answer over here should be 3, that is A, B, D and E only. Okay, next is which of the following sampling techniques in research imply randomization and equal probability of drawing the units. So here they have asked you from these sampling techniques which is the sampling technique which has equal probability of getting selected to the all the participants. So basically all the participants have the equal probability to get selected in the study. So basically here we use the randomization formula to select the different participants to the study. So whether it is quota sampling, whether it is snowball sampling, whether it is stratified sampling, or whether it is dimensional sampling or cluster sampling. So here the probability sampling procedures are stratified and cluster sampling. As we have seen in this video only, ki quota, snowball and sampling, all of these are the non-probability sampling. Okay, and that's why the remaining options will be stratified and cluster sampling, and those are the probability sampling techniques. And that's why your correct answer should be C and E only. Okay, C and E only, stratified and cluster sampling. Okay. So students, thank you for watching this session. I hope all of you understood exactly what are the different steps of research, and I have included some examples or some MCQs which relevant to each step in the research process. For example, I have included MCQs regarding to sampling procedures, because sampling procedure is one of the step of whole research process. Again, I have included questions regarding hypothesis testing, hypothesis formulation, because these are also the one of the steps of whole research process. Okay, so students, I hope you have all understood exactly what I want to say you regarding steps of research. But if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment box. Okay.